Welcome back to the Get Loved Up podcast, your number one resource for inspiration and motivation to live your purpose, make healthy living a priority, and thrive doing what you love. I'm your host, Koya Webb, a small town girl who chased her dreams and caught them, a former track and field athlete who healed using spirituality and yoga, and an entrepreneur who didn't let sexual assault, racism, and insecurities dim her light. And now it's your turn to allow these episodes with some of the top voices in spirituality, wellness, and entrepreneurship to inspire you to thrive. Let's get loved up together. Oludara Adio is a therapist and author of Self-Care for Black Women. Based in Los Angeles, California, she works as a psychiatric social worker where she assists individuals experiencing homelessness, as well as severe and persistent mental illnesses. Oludara is passionate about helping people improve their overall well-being, especially Black women. Before becoming a social worker, Oludara spent 7+ years working as a writer and editor. She has been an associate web editor at Cosmopolitan and managing editor at XXL. Oludara grew up in Edison, New Jersey. She loves Beyonce, hot yoga, cooking, and watching telenovelas. Oludara!
So excited.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I am just so mesmerized by you.
Thank you.
I mean, your book, hold up, so everyone can see it, Self-Care for Black Women, 150 Ways to Radically Accept and Prioritize Your Mind, Body, and Soul.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
What inspired this book?
So many things. I think for me, it started with my mom. My mom passed away in 2013. She was 62. And before that, she had been sick for many, many years. She had rheumatoid arthritis and just had other health issues. And once the rheumatoid arthritis got really bad and she became disabled, it was just like she hadn't been taking care of herself all those years beforehand. So she just never really got better. And then she passed away. And, at the time she was going through her own health issues, I was also experiencing some of mine. I was going through, I recently diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome, and that was something new to me. And I was navigating my own health issues while also taking care of my mom. So it really made me kind of open my eyes to be like, okay, I need to take myself seriously. I need to take care of my health. And at the time I was working at Cosmo magazine, and that was a very stressful job. And I was going through my own workplace trauma through there, just being one of the only Black women in that space, and health issues, my mom. So I feel like that was kind of the spark for me. Yeah. And as I went further in my career and as a journalist, I was working at Cosmo, and then I quit, and then I went to go work at XXL. I realized this is not the industry for me. I want a balanced life. And if anyone knows, as a journalist, you don't really have a balanced life because you're working 24/7. And I was also in the music industry at the end because of XXL, so that was also very toxic. So I feel like I just had an awakening moment one day in a meeting with a boss who was just yelling, and I was just like, why am I sitting here being yelled at about entertainment news? What is going on?
Wow.
So I quit without a job, and basically I just went on my own journey to kind of find my next path. Mm-hmm. And that led me to getting my master's of social work at University of Southern California. And that also led me to taking self-care seriously, because now I was becoming a practitioner. I was getting ready to be a therapist, and I basically was like, I need to take care of myself. I need to deal with my things. Mm-hmm. And once I started to do that, it just lit up the path.
Mm-hmm. That is so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. And, my condolences for your mother. Mm-hmm. I know it's not easy. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of grief around a parent transitioning. Can you share some of the stages of grief you went through and how you use self-care to get through those times?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, as a therapist, I know there's the stages of grief, right. Depression, and as you go through all of them, there's about 5 stages. And I would say that I was depressed after my mom passed, but I also was not aware that I was depressed. Mm-hmm. And I quickly dived into doing my work, and I just could not, you couldn't tell me I was depressed. I was like, oh, I'm fine. Like we knew it was coming. It came too soon, but we knew it was coming. But at the same time, you're never really prepared for a parent's death, even if they are sick in the hospital. And so, I mean, I knew my mom's death was coming because she died on New Year's Eve. And even before that, she was in the hospital. And I'm a very spiritual person. And I had a feeling. I just had this feeling. And I was just like, I just can't believe this. Like, I'm not ready to face this. And when she passed, it was a shock. And after that, went into an active depression. And then, I really just was like trying to figure it out, trying to do all these practical things to help me. And then I would say probably started therapy maybe about 5 years after my mom passed. And then that actually opened up a lot more, and I got to dive deeper into, what was going on the inside of me. And that I would say therapy was really an eye opener for me, and just, trying to break any generational patterns that my mom was doing, and anything that happened in my childhood, and anything that happened, just from growing up in a immigrant household, because my parents are Nigerian. So just from growing up in an immigrant household. So I feel like, the self-care played an integral part in me getting to a better place now, where that, like, almost 10 years later, I finally feel like true joy, and I'm happy, and I know myself better now, and I'm not afraid of the emotions, because that was what it was. It was like I was afraid to meet those emotions, to be sad, and and I do get sad at times, because it's like, of course, like I want my mom to be at my wedding, or if I get married, I want her to meet my nieces and nephews, and grandchildren, and all these things. So it's hard, and so yeah.
Thank you. And I love that you champion therapy, because I too think that it needs to be demystified, and that the more that you say, I'm having therapy, I also have therapy, and we can work through some of those traumas. And you talk about, generational trauma quite a bit. And I would love for you to share some of the things that you feel like are stopping with you. Because I think that's important to acknowledge, yes, this was in my past, but this stops with me.
Yes. Ooh, that is so good. And I think that is, so I like to say that the book for me is generational work, because it really is. And my mom really did inspire this. So for me, it's not taking care of myself. To be quite honest, because my mom didn't do that, and I didn't really see her take care of herself. In the past, as I like to call myself, a former strong Black woman, I was known as the strong friend. I was the one who, you could go to any time, no matter what I'm going through, I'm always going to be there for someone else. And I really had to learn, that pattern, it stops with me. I'm not going to ignore my emotions. I'm not going to put my health in jeopardy just because I feel like I need to be perceived as this really super woman, because I'm tired, I'm tired. And I will say, there was a moment in therapy a couple years ago where I was talking to my therapist about this health issue that I was like, I don't know, should I go to the doctor? Should I try to dive deeper into it, see what's going on? And then I was also telling her about how my mom, there's this story about my mom where she was sick, and and when I was maybe just about born, and we were in Switzerland, and she didn't want to, they wanted to do surgery on her in Switzerland, and we were about to go on a plane to Nigeria, and my mom was just like, no, I don't want to do that, just give me the medication. And so when she got to Nigeria, she ended up having to get surgery or whatever. But I was sharing that with my therapist, and then at the same time I was talking about how, I should probably go to the doctor to get more information. It was in that moment that I realized, what am I doing? Why am I ignoring what's going on with me?
Right.
And that was when I was like, okay, I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah. Wow, that is so powerful, because I feel like you have to acknowledge the problem. And that's what you say, hey, something's wrong. And it's almost like you try to get that validation outside of yourself. Although your intuition is like, hey, go to the doctor, go to the doctor. And you're like, should I go to the doctor?
Right.
Should I go to the doctor? Do you think I should go to the doctor? It's like, I don't know, your intuition is
right.
your body.
It's literally saying
go to the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's so important for people to hear. It's like, if your body is telling you like, hey, I need some help, I need some support to get that support. And I think that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
And then taking care of yourself. I love your like, put yourself first is your motto and mine as well. Yourself first, then others, then the world.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about like spirituality? As you know, spirituality is really important for us in the Get Loved Up community, and how, you know, that plays a part in your self-care.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, you know, when you say spirituality, people often think religion first. And while, yes, that can be a part. And for me, it was a part. Like, I grew up Christian, and in my adult years, I became very, very strong in my faith and my relationship with God. But so in 2020, I was a part of this church called Hillsong. So I'm gonna get real and very deep. Okay. So at the end of 2020, there was this really huge scandal. Like, it was all over the news. This pastor, like, you know, it's all over the news. It's still all over the news. And so the thing is, I was very involved with that church. And when I was living in New York, and I was in New Jersey and New York, I was very involved with that church. And then I came out to LA, and then I was involved with the church here. So I was very like deep in the community. And then when that scandal came out, and it came out that like people who I looked up to weren't operating in a spiritual way, or in like just on a higher vibration, I was just kind of like, what is going on? And then I also had to deconstruct my mind around Christianity and even just the way I saw spirituality. And I had to go on my own path. So that was at the end of 2020. And then I like got the book deal in 2021. And for me, that was confirmation that I don't need to be part of a church to kind of like have this connection with God or the higher power. So, which is, you know, something I do talk about in the book. It's like, you got to find your higher power for yourself. Because often we like to have it be dictated by our community and the people around us. And we don't want to discover it for ourselves. And we just kind of want to go off of what everyone's telling us. So I really had to like do that work myself. And for me, spirituality, yeah, it does include like, I have a very personal relationship with God, but then also it's literally like listening to myself, listening to my intuition, taking quiet moments to really like listen to what the Spirit is telling me about certain things. And not being afraid to listen to what the Spirit is telling me. Because sometimes, you know, that's been part of my self-care work, is actually trusting my intuition and trusting the things that I'm being told, and, you know, really believing them.
I love that. Thank you for breaking that down, because I do believe, you know, also from a Christian background, I believe in, you know, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And the Holy Spirit is inside of us, each one of us. And that if we follow that divine guidance, that spiritual guidance inside, we don't have to look outside of us and try to find the answer, because it's inside. And that is in most religions, if you really connect, you know, even though in Christianity we pray to someone outside of us, when I got baptized, it was like me believing in the Trinity, the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit is what I felt. And so I love that you're saying, I'm trusting that more, the intuition. And I feel like it doesn't matter how people get there, like what religion gets you there or whatever, I think, but once you get there, sometimes leaving a religion can get you there, but you're there. And that's what's beautiful. And I could just feel your glow and feel your energy and feel your vibration. And, you know, sometimes we talk about like, oh, I'm sorry this happened, I'm sorry that happened. But everything, if we acknowledge it and don't look at it as good or bad, it's just really moving us towards the light.
Ooh, yes.
Right? And
absolutely.
I love what you say in your book about just really being aware of your intuition and allowing it to guide you to, you know, whatever works for you. In the tip, you give us over 150 tips. So I'm curious to like, give me your top 5.
Ooh.
What are your top 5?
Okay.
Those would be the ones you do every single day.
Okay. Definitely listen to your intuition. That is one that's been like my biggest work that I've been doing, and it's been absolutely great. Stop policing your speech. That's one that it's like I've worked on not holding back what I want to say because I'm afraid I'm going to be perceived as like an angry Black woman or something like that. So, drink your water. That's a basic one. But I noticed because of the pandemic and as a professional psychotherapist, like I noticed that I had been neglecting drinking water, just a basic need, and how much that actually impacted me. I'd be like, oh, I'm so anxious, but maybe I just need to drink some water.
That part.
Like when's the last time you actually had some water? And it's like, oh, that's why. Let's see. Build a healthy sisterhood. I'm very, very big on that. I would say that's definitely one of my top 5. If not, that's actually probably my number 1. I believe in building a healthy sisterhood. I believe in connecting with other women, especially other Black women. I've built a great group of friends around me who like I can be my most vulnerable self with. They uplift me, they pray for me, they, encourage me, they give me guidance. It's the best. And I think that is like one of the best things as Black women that we can have is people in our corner that look like us, who can really just get us to our higher selves and help us, be there at most of the time. Yeah. So, and what's that for? Drink water. Yeah. And then 5th one I would say is spend time in the sun.
That vitamin D. Yes, I love that. And just for the sister, just so y'all know, when I found out we were going to do it over Zoom. And when I found out this woman was in LA, I was like, I got to see her in person. I got to feel her vibration. And I'm so glad I did because it's so different. I'm so grateful for Zoom and be able to still impact virtually and even impact even more virtually. I'm so grateful for that and social media. But you cannot replace this person-to-person contact, energy, hugs.
Yes.
And it just feels so great. And one of your tips is, create a community around yourself, create a sisterhood. Can you give some people a couple tips? Because you also have some more tips around who you should have into your life and who you should like detox from your life. And I think people need to hear it because sometimes those toxic people in your life can bring you down. Yeah,
definitely. Right. I feel like in the book I talked about like get rid of limiting friendships. And those are people who just, they've always got something negative to say about your vision. And they've always got something to say that's like against where you want to go. And also people who are emotionally immature. And that, emotional maturity is really someone who's in tune with themselves and not afraid to address those things that they're feeling and can clearly communicate like how they're feeling, what's going on. And, we live in a society where a lot of people are not emotionally mature. So if you can get away from those people or limit the interaction, then absolutely. And, since we're talking about Black women, I also said stay away from like well-meaning white people. And what I mean by that specifically is just, people who, the racism is a little bit covert, who may trigger microaggressions, your reactions to microaggressions. So like, if you interact with microaggressions a lot, it can really just keep building up. So, sometimes stay away from that person that's just, not making you feel too good.
Yeah, that's so powerful because I definitely, growing up even, being the only Black woman in different rooms and then coming into yoga and being the only Black woman in a lot of those spaces, I didn't know for a long time why I felt myself closing down and feeling small and feeling like I wasn't enough.
Yeah.
I wasn't born like that. I was born sassy and triple Leo and like all this fierceness. And then, family, stuff, I'm shrinking. Then school stuff, I'm shrinking. And then I just found myself shrinking. And even now, to be honest, I'm still finding myself healing. And I have to thank this time that we've had within where I'm not running around, getting on every flight and doing, because I have done so much healing from microaggressions that I did not understand how deeply they were harming me and how important that self-care tip is.
Yeah.
And when I read that in your book, I was like, you know what? People need to hear and understand that it matters. You might think you're strong enough. Oh, it doesn't matter. It's fine. I know she doesn't mean it. I know she's not racist. It hurts.
It hurts.
It hurts. And your body's keeping score
if
you're not. So thank you. Like I got chills all over my body because I realized it's like, Yeah, that is. And everyone is loved, but it hurts. And if you can't communicate and you can't say, like, hey, this hurts me, this is harming me, then you have to make that decision for a healthy boundary.
Yeah, I call that, I think I said it in the book, but I call it white people fatigue. Okay. Because you know what, you're tired of putting on a mask, right? You're tired of the mask that you're like, oh, I'm fine. Like, oh, hearing about my hair 50 times a day or whatever, like every day when I go to work or whatever, oh, it's not getting to me. But it does eventually. And I identify with that. I grew up in mostly white spaces, and I didn't realize how much growing up in those spaces impacted me until I left the media industry and was like, wow, like this has been in my body, in my mind, in my soul. Like, I really got to take care of this. So.
Thank you for sharing that, because I feel like within the last year, people becoming more aware is helping a little bit, a tanch, with people being aware, like, oh, this is happening. And even with people like that are experiencing it, it's like, oh, wow, that's how I feel. So I feel like the more that we talk about it and normalize talking about microaggressions and how they are well-meaning, but intention doesn't equal impact.
Exactly.
And we got to address these things. And I know a lot of people are going to be writing in and saying, yes, yes, yes. Thanks for saying that. Yes. Thanks for being honest. Thanks for being vulnerable, because that's the only way that we're going to heal.
Exactly.
And so now I'm going to get into your lifestyle. I want to unpack your lifestyle a little bit. I love me some morning rituals, get loved up, morning rituals. I love it. So what is like your morning routine?
Okay. My morning routine right now looks like I wake up, make my bed. I turn on Tony Jones. I don't know if you know Tony Jones.
Yes, I do. She was on my last reel. Met her in person. I adore her.
Adore her. Oh my gosh. Affirmations for a grown woman. That changed my life when I heard it. So I still play. I know she's got new music, but I still play that specific album in the morning because it really gets me in the mindset to like, okay, like, I'm a bad bitch. Yes. Like, it gets me in the mindset. And then, I make my tea and, that's really it for me right now. And it's quiet. So, with the Tony Jones in the background, but like, it's very still before I even start. And I need to do that because I need to be settled before I start my day.
I love that. And what about at night? Do you have anything that you do to kind of like wind you down?
Yeah. So let's see. It'll also be tea because I love tea. So yes, it's chamomile, sometimes cinnamon, and then sometimes I journal. And if I'm not journaling, I will meditate. And I recently got this device called Sensate, and it like vibrates on your chest, and it's linked to your phone, and there's music. And I found that to be very helpful. Like sometimes I'll put it on my chest and I'll lay down to go to like meditate, and then I'll wake up like 8 hours later because it's just been on my chest and soothing me. And that's been very helpful because I noticed because of the pandemic and my profession, like my anxiety went up in the last year. So I had to just, do something that really helped me, and that's been really helpful.
I love that. Yes, you are a tea sister. I love tea in the morning, in the evening, in the middle of the day. Or when you walked in the door, I was like, would you like some tea?
Yes.
I mean, it's just so warming. And also the herbs are really important as well. You also talked in your book about nutrition and how it's important to eat. Can you talk a little bit about how important it is and how, especially with what you're going through, like, health-wise, how important nutrition is?
Yeah, I'll share. So I went vegan and gluten-free in 2017. So I did that because, there was a trend around that time. People were going vegan and trying it because there are multiple documentaries out. But someone who did it told me, she was like, I had a lot of energy when I was like not eating meat or dairy. And I was like, you know what? I want to try that because that was my struggle. I could sleep for 12 hours. I would wake up in the morning and I would just be clogged up, congested. I would be tired. Oh my gosh, I felt absolutely horrible. So once I went vegan for like a month, I was energy. You know, I was just like up and at it. And I was like, this is incredible. And a lot of my health issues began to go away that were related to the polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Right.
And I was just so amazed by this lifestyle. And I was like obsessed with it. I was like, oh my gosh, like everyone needs to go plant-based. Like your life is going to change. So yeah. And I think because I've also become more intuitive and now I listen to my body and I pay attention to what I eat, I can know when, I ate something that just was not right. And, you know, I should probably stay away from that. And I think nutrition is so important because sometimes if we eat the wrong stuff, like it can really clog up our heads. It can, you know, just make us feel worse. And, I've definitely noticed if I've had too much takeout, even if it is plant-based, if I've had too much takeout.
That part.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, I will definitely feel like, sluggish and tired. So.
Absolutely. Thank you. I've been vegan for 16 years now, and I am a foodie to the max. I'll eat anything as long as it's vegan. But most of the time, 80% of the time, I'm eating healthy juices, fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds. And then, 10% like pizzas, burgers, and all the restaurants, all the things. But to your point, when it's processed, whether it's vegan or not, your body has a harder time digesting it. It's lower vibrational, so you're not going to get the same energy that you're getting from, eating those, good, nice, juicy fruits and vegetables.
Exactly.
So I love that. Okay, so now I'm really excited about just talking about your journey now as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I mean, you took that leap that so many people are wanting to or thinking about it. What made you, you kind of shared what made you transition, but can you talk to us a little bit about your journey with really stepping into your own?
Okay. Well, so like about the book, the book deal and all that. So, I work full time as a psychiatric social worker, but the book, my book deal journey is not like the norm. Simon & Schuster, they contacted me and they were like, hey, you used to be an editor and now you're a social worker. We've got this book idea. Do you feel like this is something you can do? We want to do the topic on self-care for Black women. And I was like, God, what? So, and, we started talking and, I came up with the ideas of splitting it up into 3 and all that. And it was truly spiritual. And it was scary because I also was like, there was a short timeline. They wanted a manuscript in like 2 months and all these things. Yeah. So, but the book is written in a way that I was used to writing. And because I went through, editorial abuse, basically working at Cosmo and XXL, it was kind of like, I just knew how to whip up this stuff really quick because I used to work for a website. So it was like, I used to write like 10 articles a day. This is nothing to me.
Wow.
The only difference is that I was also still working full time as a social worker. So it was tough. It was tough, trying to balance it and also like, not knowing how to navigate contracts and all that and having to reach out to friends who have been in similar situations. But, it's been scary. There was a lot of imposter syndrome. I had to have my friends really like back me up and be like, listen, like you are made for this. This is your moment. I wouldn't say I almost turned down the deal, but I was definitely like, should I do this? And one of my friends was like, are you crazy? She's
Absolutely.
like, are you crazy? Like, you're not going to say no. Like, why are you even thinking about saying no? And so she was just like, just think about all the opportunities that could come from this. Even if it doesn't look exactly how you want it to look, because I've always wanted a book deal. It's something I've written about. It's something I wrote in my journal, something I talked about with my mom before she even passed away all those years ago. So it was like, it doesn't look how I wanted it to. Like sometimes the things we want don't look exactly how we want them to. And once we finally get them, it's, if you're in tune with yourself and you're healed enough, you'll know like, this is exactly what I wanted. So, stepping into being a, unsigned author, I don't have an agent. So stepping into being an author without an agent, was very, very scary, and it's still scary.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
And what about your journey? Because I did want you to talk about from your job as a journalist into social work. And, did you already have your degree? Was that something that, or when did you get it and things like that?
So after I left journalism, I basically was like, what do I want to do? And I was like, what was the last job I truly liked? What was the last time I felt like I was working, but I wasn't working? And that was when I was working with kids. And so I became a preschool teacher, and I realized I don't want to be a teacher. That's a very hard job. Love teachers. That's a very hard job.
Absolutely.
And so then I remembered I loved babysitting. When I was in college and undergrad, I was a nanny on the side. And I remembered I loved that job so much. I really loved nurturing kids and working with families. And I found like the most darlingest family that lived near my house in New Jersey. And it was just like, it was truly magical. It was the best experience ever. And once I got to like being in a place where I was working at a job where I really didn't feel like I was using a lot of brain space, I really was able to focus on, okay, what do I want to do next, like professionally? And, I had a friend who was just about to start her social work degree, or her master of social work program. And she was like, I think you might like social work, because she knows me very well. And she was like, I think you might like this, because I was thinking of becoming a therapist. And I just didn't know what avenue I wanted to go in, because undergrad, it was journalism, and C's get degrees, and I never thought I'd go to grad school. Like, I was just not on my mind. And she was just like, just look into it. And once I looked into it, and I found USC, which is a great program, and they're very like holistic. They don't really look at your grades in undergrad, and they look at the whole package. And they looked at me, and they looked at my application, and I got in, and they offered me a scholarship. So I was just like, okay, I guess I'm going. And also once I got to LA, I fell in love with LA. And it was almost like as soon as I got here, the path made sense. Everything lined up exactly how it should be, from my first internship as a social worker offering me a stipend, which is very rare, because most people who are getting their master's of social work are working full time and also going to school full time. And it's, there's no extra financial, help. But, and then just from getting the right internships to just truly feeling like, oh, wow, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. Like LA felt like home. Social work felt like home. I was coming into my own as a person, which is also just so important. I feel like as an adult is like, you need to sometimes get out of like an environment that you were in for so long to really kind of just grow and learn more about yourself. And that's what I was doing. And so, yeah.
That's so beautiful. And congratulations. People, and that's one of your tips too, journaling. People don't understand the power of just writing down what you desire and what your dreams are. And I love how it's almost like the reality met you there. I love that you share that, because people are like, oh, the affirmations don't mean anything. This journaling is a waste of time. Yeah. But really, you seeing it, you feeling it, you doing it has a big impact.
Absolutely.
So had you been journaling since you were a little girl, or did that start later?
Yeah, no, I've always been a journaler. Like, I realized that. I've always had a diary, even when I was like, like 9 or 10, I was always writing. And I'm the internet generation, obviously. And it's like, we had online journals and like Zengas and live journals. And I would do that. And even as an adult, I was journaling. So I keep a journal for every year, and I label it. And, every year at the beginning of the year, I actually would write out what I wanted, and I would always have a word for the year. Right. And so I would always kind of just lead with that. And last year, the word was prosperity. So it just like, came through. And I just think journaling is so important, because you kind of get all the thoughts out. Right. And you can really see what you want. And it really is helpful in manifesting your destiny. And so with the book, like at the beginning of 2021, I definitely was journaling, and I was like writing all the things I wanted to do. And I decided to take action, and like, I was like, I want to get a book deal by the end of 2021. So I did things like start a blog again, and start writing, and start editing people's work again. And I feel like because I opened that side of me up to the universe, like God was just like, okay, it seems like you're ready for this world again. And and behold.
That is beautiful. If you do the work, the opportunities will come.
Yes.
I truly believe if you do the work, the opportunities will come. And so what do you feel like, once, as things are coming, I know things are not always like you said, it's scary. You've been through a lot of pain. Like, can you kind of share people like, when the darkness comes, like, how do you get your way through that? I know you have therapy and things like that, but some practical things that people can do at home when they're just feeling sad and they're feeling scared.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think first it's like kind of accepting that you're sad. Sometimes we don't want to accept that, and we're gonna be like, yeah, we're okay. I'm okay. But no, I think sometimes when you're sad, you actually have to acknowledge that, okay, this is how I'm feeling. So, and it's also helpful to have like a supportive system, whether it's people or other, avenues you reach out to. But I definitely think like it's helpful to have people who you can be very open with.
Right.
And who also know you, who also know like, oh, I haven't talked to you in a while, like what's going on? Or they just know your normal behaviors.
Right.
And I think that's so important. But I would say, when you're sad, do whatever makes you feel better. And that's very individual, know. And I know it can sound superficial, like do whatever makes you feel better. I mean, and I also know sometimes when you're sad and you're depressed, you don't really know what will make you feel better. So practically, sometimes get up and move. Sometimes you just need to move your body.
Right.
Because when we're sad, we're like, we're just like sitting and we're set in our ways and we're not moving. And sometimes you need to just get up and get some life into your body. And sometimes that really does help.
Absolutely. I think somatic, and moving that energy is just so important, because you've been talking about this book, how things trap inside you, like feelings, emotions, and those emotions are the answer.
Yes.
And you talk about, the brain and the nervous system. So can you get a little sciencey with us? Because you share that in your book, and I like that you went there just a little bit, just enough. I feel like your book is very practical and digestible, but you did go there with sharing some of the deeper things that, we need to do to calm down our nervous system. Can you share?
Yeah, I know. So I love that because, I got my master's in social work, and in social work school, we do talk about that stuff, and it's very fascinating. But yeah, our body really does hold on to a lot of emotions, and it keeps the score. It really does like trap all those things in. And so the thing that's so great about our brain though, is that our brain, even though it's damaged, it can recalibrate. It can, neuroplasticity is what it's called. Right. Like it can really like just be like, it can go back to the direction you want it to go, but you have to train it to go that way. Right. Just like with anything, if you want, to build muscle, you've got to train. So your mind and your body, your soul, they're all one. And like your body, sometimes it can really like just hold on to these emotions and just create, aches and muscles and pains and turn into sicknesses. And if we're not moving our body, sometimes that can just really impact our mental health.
Absolutely. Yeah. And expressing and releasing, movement, journaling, like all of these amazing things, just help process some of that energy. I feel like the whole book is literally giving people ideas on how they can process their emotions.
Yeah, definitely. And even something as simple as like, doing a bend forward. And
right.
I know you do yoga.
Forward fold.
Forward fold. Yes, the forward fold is so good for relaxing the parasympathetic system. And the parasympathetic system is the system in your body that really just sends the signals to your body to kind of just chill. And I think it's important to like know, what movements those are. It could be very beneficial to you.
Yes, I agree. I love it. So now that we're getting close to the end, I like to ask people their favorite things. So what's your favorite book outside of your own that you've read in the last 2 years, I guess?
Oh my gosh. All right. Okay. I love the Crazy Rich Asian series. This has nothing to do with self-care for Black women or anything, but like I love them. They are fun. They're fun books. So I often like to do read fiction to kind of get away. Sometimes you do need to take a break from reading all the self-help stuff, and it's nice to like dive into something that's absolutely ridiculous, and it's fun. They're fun.
I love that. And I love that you said that, because I think that's so important and just speaks to how the more we embrace all different cultures, the more we grow as people and as humanity, and just respecting and diving into, okay, what's funny to me? What's funny to this culture? What, you know, and so thank you for sharing that. And what is your favorite tea, since we both love tea? What's your favorite?
Oh my gosh, just pick one.
I know.
Can I do
It's unfair, I know, but.
Okay, I will say.
One tea for the rest of your life.
One tea for the rest of my life? Oh dear God. I mean, okay, can I say, wow, this is a very hard question for me. Raspberry.
Ooh.
I love raspberry. It's good for your uterus. It's good for, women reproductive health. So I would say overall, it's a good one. It's a good one. It's nice and relaxing, and it tastes good too.
Yes. It does. I love raspberry.
Yes,
Red raspberry. Ooh.
Yes.
My favorite. Awesome. Thank you. And if you had one message that you can just give the world and say, you know what, live by this, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a very good question. That's one thing I could tell the world. Well, I mean, my motto is put yourself first, but I say your wellness is your greatest resistance in society. It's the greatest thing you can do to, push back against grind culture, capitalism culture. Like, it's just, your wellness is your resistance.
Your wellness. I love that. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for coming on the Get Loved Up podcast. It's just been such a treat to meet you in person. Such a treat to listen to your book. By the way, I highly suggest you listen to it. It is on Audible. So just listening to it is just so beautiful. And it's a beautiful book. So I highly suggest you all go out and get it. Where can people find you?
Well, let's see. You can find me on Instagram. Twitter, TikTok, at Oludara Adio. I'm mainly, my platforms are all different. Like, Instagram is fun and it's very safe space for Black women. TikTok, if you decide to follow me on TikTok, it's very fun. I'm learning Spanish. And so my community on TikTok is very heavily Argentinian right now. So, but it's a fun space. I love TikTok.
That's fun. I'm trying my best. I'm an 80s baby, so it's like, ooh. You really got to get into the groove of it. But when you get into the groove of it, it is so much fun. I agree with you. So definitely check her out on all the social media platforms. Definitely get you and a friend a copy of the book. They'll love it. Everything is totally bite-sizable. And thank you all for joining us. Thank you for coming and blessing us with your brilliance. And until next time, love yourself, love others, and love the world one day at a time, one breath at a time. Peace and love.
Bye.
I just want to take a moment to say thank you for being part of the Get Loved Up community. I like to share topics and people making a positive impact in the world, and your feedback means the world to me. If you haven't already left a review, please leave a 5-star review and let me know what you want to hear more of on the show. I'm here for you, and together we're making the world a better place, one day at a time, one show at a time. Thank you for listening.